Hello, this is Astrologer Coach Sonja Francis, and today we're going to be talking about the upcoming new moon in 28 degrees of Aries, which will be exact on April 18th at 2:57 p.m. East Coast time in the US, which is also New York time, or 11:57 a.m. Pacific time, which is also LA time. Now, the new moon is always a new beginning because it starts a new moon cycle. And this is a time where we really want to plant the seeds for the new lunar cycle. And it's time to set our intentions again for the next 28 days. So more details on the best time when to do that will be at the end of this video. And I'm also going to be talking a little bit about a promotion that I have that's just for 1 week only, also at the end of this video. So please stay tuned for that. Now let's go back to the Aries new moon. Now, what is the Aryan energy all about? Aries is asking us to tap into our courage, our passion. And it's really a step into the unknown. It's really taking initiative and asserting ourselves. And so Aries is very much considered the sign connected to beginner's mind, because beginner's mind has to do with being open, with being eager, with being enthusiastic, willing to be surprised. So all of that is really connected to the Aries energy. And the fewer conceptions we have and the more possibilities we see and the wider the path can really grow that we're on, and the further we can go. And that's how Aries works. That energy, like, it just is there to really push us forward into this really, like, into new place, new dimensions, new pathways. That's what it's all about. So this is really our time to let go of any shoulds that we have in our lives. So anything that we feel like, oh, I ought to do that, or I have to do that, or I must be doing this. These are the things we kind of want to let go of right now. And also anything that where we feel like we need to know all the answers. Because Aries is a very open sign that really doesn't need to know the answers. It just needs to get going. It just needs to do stuff. It needs to be in action, right? So living in the present moment and trusting our instincts is very important with the Aryan energy. So this new moon is very much about, getting in touch with our instinctual nature a little bit more and just stepping into anything that's new, right? Now, here are some questions you can ask yourself for this new moon. And, I do this with every video that I ask these questions. And I think it's a really great way to just get in touch with what's really true for yourself. Because we're all a little bit different. We all have different ways of needing to approach certain things or needing to connect to something. So asking yourself these questions and really answering truthfully is very valuable, and it's also going to be helpful with setting intentions when you do your intentions as well. I would recommend using all the questions in the video for that as well. So first question for this video is, where can I approach my life with beginner's mind? So where can you do that in your life? What do I want to create in this now moment? So if there was only this moment of now and nothing else, no past, no future, if it was just here right now, what would you want to be creating right now? And what if I were to tap into my inner courage and passion for life right here, right now? What would that create? What would happen out of that? So these are some questions you can ask yourself. And wherever you have Aries in your birth chart, that's really the area of your life where you have the most courage and enthusiasm. So this is a very important area of your life because you can approach things with a lot of energy and with a lot of action, right? Now, if you want to know where in your birth chart you do have Aries, feel free to watch my video about how to read your birth chart. You can find that either on my YouTube channel, or you can also email us at info@astrologercoach.com and just write recording in the subject line, and then we will email you that video and with some handouts as well, so you can watch it and get a sense for what your birth chart looks like, right? And I also talk a little bit about that again at the end of this video. Now, Mars is the ruler of Aries. So Mars and Aries, they're buddies. They're connected. And Mars at the time of the new moon is in Taurus. And so we really need to create a very solid relationship with ourselves for this new moon. We're really being asked to value what we have to offer to the world. You know, it's really about self-worth, self-value with Mars in Taurus. Now, this is also a cosmic message about relating to the physical plane, because Taurus is very much about the physical. You know, what do we have? You know, our physical body and material things, right? So it's about really connecting to ourselves and the physical world in a loving manner. Really get connected to that and honor, you know, honor that physical world, honor our planet, honor our bodies, honor our life that we live, you know, and the things that we have. And we're also being asked to slow down a little bit. Now, with Mars in Taurus, there's a real need to focus on quality rather than quantity. Focus on sustainability over novelty and ease over force. So Taurus is really the sign of peace and the sign of, you know, contentment. You know, so it's really with Mars and Taurus, you know, we're not wanting to be zooming around and wanting to be like speeding things up, but really just kind of like taking it easy and looking at like what's really there that has quality, right? So some questions you can ask yourself with that Mars energy is, how can we generate and protect life and this planet? And how can we inspire confidence and have a healthy relationship to ourselves? And the last question you can ask yourself, which I think is always really a valuable question to ask and practice also on a daily basis: what if I loved myself 5% more every day? And that's a really great question, I think, because that can only go to an inquiry that can really help us to be more open and to be more loving in the world, right? And I think that's a really beautiful goal. Now, the highest expression of Aries, of the Aries energy, is to lead by example and to inspire, right? So when we lead by example and we inspire other people, they will follow us because they see our courage and they see our enthusiasm for life, and they want to be a part of that because they want to tap into that for themselves as well. So they want to connect. So here are some aspects that Mars is making at the time of the new moon that will also help us understand a little bit more the dynamic of this new moon as well, right? So Mars is squaring Leo, squaring Jupiter in Leo, sorry. And so this really supports us in moving forward, because whenever there's a square, there's an energy that gets generated, and we're needing to move to the next level because it's like a challenge. So we're kind of like, okay, let's move forward, right? Then we may also feel that we can't get enough because Jupiter is very much about, you know, abundance and like more. So with that square, there may be a sense that we think we can do more than we can actually do, right? Perhaps we're feeling overly optimistic, right, with Jupiter squaring Mars. But it does help us definitely to tap into our courage and into this sense of taking risks, because with Jupiter there, we really feel like more ready to take risks. So this is really wonderful. Now, if you want to read a little bit more about this Mars-Jupiter aspect, feel free to go to my website and check out my weekly forecasts, because in those I describe in a little bit more detail, you know, each aspect, which I can't get into in each of my videos. But feel free to do that and go to AstrologerCoach.com/blog. Every Sunday night I will post for the next week, so you can check that out. Okay. Now Mars aligns also with Mercury in Taurus at the time of the new moon, and this aspect really helps us to set healthy boundaries for ourselves and to speak a firm no if we need to do that. So when it's the loving thing to do for ourselves, we're able to set these healthy boundaries and say no to something, which is very important so that we can honor ourselves and we can honor you know, our energy and what we're doing, our goals, and what we're here to accomplish, right? So we're also really ready to speak up about anything that's out of alignment with our core values with this combination Mars-Mercury. And perhaps sometimes we may speak up a little bit too quickly than we're meaning to, because Mars, of course, is a little bit impulsive. and there is there's an aspect of speed to Mars. So there might be things coming out of our mouth a little bit quicker than we intend to. So just pay attention to that. And if it does happen, then just, acknowledge it, talk about it, let the other person know, that you didn't mean for it to come out maybe in that much force or in that much, with that much impulse. But it's still how you feel and still connected to what's true for you and to what you really feel is your core value, right? Now, Mars is also trining Pluto in Capricorn at the time of the new moon. And this aspect is significant because Pluto is moving very slowly at the time of the new moon. And it has just come to a halt 2 days before the new moon was exact. So with Pluto moving so slowly, even though it's retrograde already, the energy of Pluto is exalted at the time of the new moon. It's heightened. And so therefore, it really has us investigate anything dysfunctional or anything that's toxic in our businesses, in our governments, in anything to do with our long-term goals, anything that we're building currently. So we're really being asked to eliminate or transform whatever is no longer in alignment with our soul's passions, with our soul purpose, or in alignment with what feels really authentically true on an internal level to us in terms of what it is that we want to be building right now. Okay? Now, Mars and Pluto support each other at the time of the new moon because they're making a trine. So this really means that you can be manifesting something real at this time, something that's tangible, sustainable, meaningful. So this is really a wonderful aspect in terms of us moving forward with something that's really meaningful to us. And, when we feel confident about what we have to offer, which is that Mars in Taurus energy, and we can communicate that clearly, which is the Mercury in Taurus right next to Mars, right? Then we feel more empowered and able to build something that's of value and stature. And that connects the Pluto energy in Capricorn to that Mars energy in Taurus. And so we end up being more in alignment with our passions and what we feel truly deeply connected to, right? And that's really beautiful. Now, with this aspect, you can ask yourself, if that were true for you, that you would have that alignment, what would you be building? What would you be building for yourself, for your future, long term, if you really felt that alignment between your passion and what's valuable to you, right? And then the other question you can ask yourself is, what would be truly meaningful to your soul? Because sometimes when we go within and we really get quiet and we close our eyes and we really check in with ourselves, we can really get connected to that place in us, that soul place in us, and see like what's really meaningful to us, what's really of value to us. But sometimes the mind gets in the way because it gets very chatty, right? And then we can't hear what's really truly valuable to us. Now, one last aspect that I want to mention with this new moon that's really worth mentioning is the Neptune in Pisces is a focal planet of a white T-square with Saturn in Sagittarius and Venus in Gemini. And so with this aspect, we really want to be moving fast and get to the truth of things right away. And it's making it a little bit harder for us to trust in our interconnectedness with everything. But really what we need to be doing is kind of like slow down a little bit. And this may also be challenging in our relationships right now. We may feel a little bit of a need to make some adjustments and find creative ways of working with these energies. But it is important for us to focus on our daily routines at this time and to really learn to take it one day at a time. And questions you can ask yourself with this aspect are, how can we feel more unified with each other rather than separate? Because there is going to be sort of a sense of feeling a little bit separate from each other. And feel free to also read my weekly forecast for more information about this aspect as well. Another question you can ask yourself is, how can we trust our heart when life keeps throwing us curveballs? Because, it's challenging sometimes to really stay in this place of trusting what we're sensing and what we're feeling intuitively when there's so much energy moving around and when there's so many changes and things happening, because our mind gets very our mind is sort of programmed to solve problems. So our mind immediately wants to jump in and go, let me solve this problem, or let me help out here. But the mind is not always the place where we can solve the problems that we want to solve, right? Because the mind very often has created the problems in the first place. So really staying connected to our hearts, and trusting our hearts, that's very important. So the last two questions that you can ask yourself is, how can we accept new truths into our hearts just because we want to stay open and we want to invite new truths to come in? And how can we gain more clarity? Clarity is so important, because when we feel there's so much going on in our life, in our world, there's so many energies moving simultaneously, it sometimes gets a little bit overwhelming and confusing. And when we're in that place of overwhelm, it's really important to get back to clarity and to get back to a place where we can say, okay, like, what is this really about? How can I gain some clarity here? And just asking that question can be very helpful sometimes, right? Now, as best as you can for this new moon, honor and love yourself, your body, your talents, really get connected to what that is. Listen to your inner voice and bring your enthusiastic self to the world, and really bring it to the world in a real way, in a way that honors who you are. Remember that each of us makes this journey in their own way and in their own time. So have courage without being a bully. And if you do have any personal planets or personal points in your own birth chart that are between 26 and 29 degrees of Aries, Libra, Capricorn, or Cancer, or you have planets or personal points in 0 degrees of Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, or Aquarius, then you're definitely going to feel this new moon more strongly than other people. And you're definitely going to feel all these energies pulling at you more strongly. But even if you don't have personal planets or points in those degrees and those signs, you will have the new moon somewhere in your birth chart. And if you look at the house placement, what area of your life is affected by this new moon, then that will also make a little bit more sense to you. Then that area of your life is being more pronounced for these next 28 days, right? So if you want to understand a little bit better what I was just talking about, if that sounds a little bit like Chinese to you and you're like, what the hell, how do I know that? Then go to either on my YouTube channel or email me at info@astrologercoach.com and ask for my How to Read Your Birth Chart video, because that video, it's a 30-minute class that will give you a little bit of a better understanding of how to read your birth chart, okay? And just put in the subject line, just put recording, and my assistant will email you a high-res version of that video with some handouts and some other things. So definitely feel free to check that out. Now let's talk about setting intentions, the moment we've all been waiting for. Now, setting intentions for this new moon cycle, for this month, the best time and the most potent time to do that would be any time between 5:31 p.m. on April 18th and 7:07 p.m. on April 19th. And that is both New York time, right? So if you live in a different time zone than New York time, then definitely feel free to go to the internet and Google time zone converter, and that will help you to plug in the New York times into the time zone converter, and then you can also put your own time zone or place where you live, and that will help you in figuring out what the conversion would be. If that's a little bit too complicated for you, which I totally get, that's okay too, then just join me on Twitter, on my Facebook fan page. I will be posting during the time when it's the most potent time to set intentions. I will be saying, okay, now set your intentions. And I always recommend, when you set your intentions, make sure that you ask yourself the questions that I refer to in this video. go within. It's an introverted time. It's an intuitive time. It's not a mental exercise. It's not about planning what you're going to be doing for this month. It's more about really tapping into what's true for you internally so that you can then create from that place. So it's not about taking actions yet. Taking actions happens several days after the new moon, and I will be talking about that in my weekly forecast, so you can join me there as well on my website, or you can sign up for that via FeedBurner as well on my website, and then you get it sent to your email, okay? So, as far as Twitter and Facebook fan page is concerned, there are links to my Twitter page and my Facebook fan page underneath this video, so feel free to just click on those if you're not, if you haven't joined me yet. And if you watch this video after the above mentioned dates and you still want to set your intentions, I would say definitely you can do that. I would recommend doing it before the first quarter moon. And I would also recommend avoiding moon void, of course, phases, because those are usually not that helpful in really planting seeds. So if you want to know when moon void, of course, phases take place, again, feel free to go to my website at AstrologerCoach.com and go to the tab that says Astrology Forecasts for 2015. And on that page, you will find my weekly forecasts and when the moon void, of course, phases are for each week. Now, let me talk a little bit about my promotion that I mentioned at the beginning of this video. For 1 week only, we're having a promotion from April 21st until April 28th. If you register for the Life of the Soul retreat that is happening in Sedona on Memorial Day weekend, you will get a set of 4 meditations for free that are recorded by the amazing Krista Ann Mitchell, who is a rock whisperer and an energy healer. And her meditations are really amazing. I highly recommend them. They're wonderful. And you also, on top of that, you will also get the intro to the soul-based astrology for free as well, the recording of that. And so both of these things for that 1 week will be yours if you sign up for the Life of the Soul retreat that we'll be doing in Sedona on Memorial Day weekend. Now, if you want to have more specific details about what that is, if you don't know yet what that is, go to my website at AstrologerCoach.com. There is a tab that says Sedona Retreat 2015, and you can just click on that tab. And then you can read about it. There's also a video there. You can watch the videos. You can hear about it, whatever you prefer. And you can also register on that page for the retreat. And for that 1 week, you can get all these freebies. So if you have been thinking about it, definitely go for it. Then the last thing I want to say is that I have a newsletter for all of you who are interested in getting updates of mine and also knowing when is the new moon, when is the full moon coming up. So feel free to join me there as well. You can email us at info@astrologercoach.com and write newsletter in the subject line. And then that way you'll be a part of our newsletter, and we'll send you an email and let you know how to get our newsletter. Okay, that's it. If you have any general questions for me for this new moon, feel free to reach out. If there's anything that requires for me to pull up a birth chart for you, then I would ask you to go to my website and book a reading with me. There are many readings available. If you have just one question, there's a mini reading. If you want to dive in a little bit deeper and you want to know more, there is a whole life reading or a combined natal and solar return reading. Lots of options. Feel free to scroll down on the services page and see all the stuff that's available. And I'm happy to support you as much as I can, whenever I can. And have a fantastic new moon. Enjoy the Aries energy. It's a really wonderful, fast-moving, beautiful new energy. And remember to definitely tap into quality rather than quantity here with this new moon energy. And I'll be back in a couple of weeks. This is Astrologer Coach Sonja Francis. Goodbye.